Welcome to this free preview of the TWiP webinar 4K for Photographers. Hi, my name is Frederick Van Johnson, and I'm happy to have you with us. So let's get into this real quick, because we got a lot to cover. That's me, Giulio Sciorio. I'm a commercial photographer who specializes in portrait for new media. I've been shooting full-time. Actually, I'm in my 10th year of business. So that, to me, is very exciting to be able to be 10 years running strong, and I've seen so much stuff transform, and I always try to keep ahead of the curve by embracing new technology, and it doesn't always work out to be the easiest thing, but it surely is something that is very fun and I'm passionate about. So quickly, what we're going to be talking about in this presentation is what makes a video clip, what goes into a video clip. If we were to crack that video clip open, what's inside, HD versus versus 4K. Then we're going to talk about how to apply 4K technology as a photographer. Then we're going to get into the hardware, the tools of the trade, and software. And then we're going to talk about what comes after 4K, because there is something that's coming after 4K. Let's get into this. So what makes a video clip? Let's take a look. So here's a short video file. I'm going to play it back. Okay. Inside the video, if we were to open up the video, it's video files made of what's called a wrapper and container. Now, I mean wrapper like Snicker wrapper, not like Gold Grill wrapper. So a container. An example of a container would be a .mov, like a movie file, or .mp4. Inside the container, we have two streams of data. And that data is comprised of audio, the audio track that's recorded on our camera's microphone, and video, which is broken up to be a series of still frames played in synchronization with the audio track. Now, a video codec, what codec stands for compression and decompression of digital video. Examples of codecs would be H.264, H.264, WMV, and coming out soon, and actually I think it's here now, is H.265. So just to give you an idea of the difference between a container and a wrapper and what goes inside of a video clip. So HD versus 4K. This is where it gets pretty impressive. So if I asked you if you shot still photos with a 2-megapixel camera, I think that you would probably say no, I don't, and probably ask me if I'm crazy. But what's happening with 2K or HD resolution, full HD, we're actually shooting 2 megapixels per frame of video. So while that looks okay for now, on our current monitors, there's not a whole lot of room to do anything like cropping or anything really cool with that. So we want to be able to get a lot more data, if possible, from video. And since video is comprised of a bunch of still frames and an audio track, when we step up to 4K, that's a pretty large leap. So now 4K is roughly 8 megapixels per frame of video. So 8 megapixels per frame of video, that opens up a lot of options for us as photographers. So what we can do is we can crop within video if you're going to shoot 4K, but then maybe output a 2K or full HD video for the web. So you can crop and move around inside the 4K frame, and that's called pan and scan. You can do other things like capturing a very difficult shot, taking that decisive moment and going from 1 frame to 30 frames per second. That opens up a whole new world of photography for, say, like sports, for maybe birding, or even for something simple like what I do is I've had a couple cats at home and they're really hard to capture, so I just roll 4K and I often just pull the frame. And then we can do other stuff too, like since we're shooting it at 8 megapixels per frame of video, we can actually take those frames of video, harvest it, pull it out of the video track, and then print those frames as well. So here is an example of a frame of full HD video. So it looks okay, and maybe on the screen to you it looks pretty good. And it really isn't that bad. It's pretty much the standard what we're used to, and it's all right. Now the same image shot in 4K but cropped in, you can see, or even though we cropped in really close to the model's face, there's a lot more detail. It just looks more like a photograph, although this is actually a frame of video. But now let's look at this a little further and let's compare the two size-wise. So that is, on the bottom left, the full HD frame of video inside of the 4K frame of video. I mean, that's a huge difference. And you can hopefully you can see on your screen even the quality difference at this point. When you put them side by side, it really becomes evident. And then if we look at the frame of video by itself from 4K, to me it looks no different from a still photograph. And essentially that's what it is. We're shooting 30 still photographs per second and capturing the audio track simultaneously. Just pretty amazing. When I was shooting magazine covers in 2005, I was using a 5 megapixel DSLR for magazine covers, and I never got any pushback in terms of quality. And now we're at 8.5 megapixels per frame of video. It's pretty impressive. And furthermore, there have been dozens of magazine covers for years that were made from 4K video from higher end cameras like the Red Epic cameras. But with that said, let's go into how to apply 4K video. We're going to talk about some pan and scan and the decisive moment. Cool. So there is this model. That is a shot that she had basically a balloon of paint fall and hit her on the head. That's not something that we could easily recreate. And if you missed a shot, you missed a shot. At that point, it's going to be really difficult to go back and say, okay, you'll take off the paint, get cleaned up, come back in 3 hours, and then we'll try it again. But because we shot 4K video, we can cherry pick the frame that is the best fit for our vision. In this case, we chose the center frame. And then this is actually a frame from that video that we shot. It's crisp, it's clear, it's gorgeous, looks no different from a photograph. And we can print it and we can do all sorts of stuff with the content at this point. So that is the decisive moment. Now here's something that's really cool, something you may have heard about, hybrid photography. So how does 4K work in hybrid photography, and what exactly is hybrid photography? Well, essentially, as video and still photography kind of merge together, we are now, as photographers, shooting a hybrid, we're shooting multimedia content for hybrid uses. So I may take some still and motion and sound and blend it together in a variety of forms, and when you have 4K, then you're able to take that video and do all sorts of cool stuff like we mentioned before, stills, decisive moment, animated portraits, all sorts of really cool stuff that you just couldn't do that well with a standard full HD or 2K image. Since we are really talking about the video portion right now more so than the sound, we're going to focus just on the still and the motion portion. So let's talk about animated portraits. So if you've been to any of my presentations in person or seen any stuff I do online, I do a lot of animated portraits. It's one of my specialties. They're a ton of fun. They get a great response online, and they just look really cool. And since we are essentially now shooting for screens, animated portraits on a screen versus a still portrait gets 400 to 500% more engagement online. That's amazing. And then consider this, that Apple just sold their 1 billionth iOS device over the holiday season. So there's 1 billion plus screens in the marketplace. That is gigantic, and any professional photographer wanting to grow their business needs to really focus on the screen media. So this is, again, a sample of an animated portrait. We have some sparkle on the earrings. We wanted to showcase to you of the jewelry.
Thanks for watching this free preview of the 4K for Photographers webinar. If you'd like to check out the full version of this webinar, just head over to thisweekinphoto.com/shop. There you can download this webinar and others as they become available. And if you're a TWiP member, you already have access to this webinar and all other webinars as part of your TWiP membership. Thanks for watching.